He didn't recognize the woman behind the desk. Why would he? The last time he saw her, she was scrubbing his dishes at 2 in the morning. Now, she sat in a chair that cost more than his car, holding his future in her hands like loose change. Silas Sterling clutched his resume so hard the paper crumpled. The gold letters on the door read Vance, a name that meant nothing to him. But it should have, because 1 year ago, in a dark kitchen in Maryland, he threw a trash bag at this woman's feet and told her she was the reason his life felt small. She didn't cry then. She doesn't smile now. Most people think success is loud, but true power is often the quietest person in the room. This man is about to find out that the person he called nothing is now the only one who can save him. Comment, ready, if you believe in karma. She speaks without looking up. I don't hire people who lack vision, Silas. And you didn't even see me when I was standing right in front of you. 15 years earlier, Silas Sterling married Beatrice Monroe in a small church outside Baltimore. She wore a simple dress. He wore ambition like cologne, thick and impossible to ignore. Back then, Silas was a junior marketing associate with a mortgage he couldn't afford and a personality too big for every room he entered. Beatrice was different, quiet, thoughtful, the kind of woman who listened more than she spoke, which Silas mistook for having nothing to say. But while Silas was busy telling everyone at the office how brilliant he was, Beatrice was the one writing the brilliance. Late nights when he passed out on the couch after too much whiskey and too little work, she sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, rewriting his presentations. She color-coded his pitch decks. She researched his clients and handed him conversation starters on index cards every morning. When Silas landed a major contract with a tech firm in New Jersey, his boss called him unnatural. His colleagues took him out for drinks. Silas gave a speech about hard work and vision. Beatrice washed the wine glasses when he got home. You know, she said one night, folding his shirts, if you adjusted the pricing model on the Reynolds account, you'd increase margins by 12%. Silas looked up from his phone. B, I love you, but stick to what you know, okay? Leave the business to me. She didn't argue. She just nodded and quietly transferred another $2,000 into an account Silas didn't know existed. Not because she was planning to leave, because she was planning to survive. Silas started staying out late. Networking events, he called them. High-value individuals, he said. Beatrice stopped asking questions when he came home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. One Thursday, he didn't come home at all. When he finally walked through the door Friday afternoon, Beatrice was making lunch. Chicken salad. His favorite. He stood in the doorway, his tie loose, his eyes cold. We need to talk, he said. She set down the knife. Okay. I met someone. Beatrice didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She just looked at him the way you look at a stranger who asked for directions. Her name is Jade, Silas continued. She's a model. She's 24. And she makes me feel alive, B. You make me feel like I'm drowning. He pulled out a folder. Divorce papers. Already signed on his side. I'm giving you the house, he said, like he was doing her a favor. You can have it. I don't need it anymore. I'm moving to California with Jade. She's got opportunities out there. Big ones. And I can't be held back by. By what? Beatrice asked. Silas hesitated. Then he said it. By a boring housewife. He left the folder on the counter and walked out. Didn't hug her. Didn't look back. Just gone. Beatrice stood there for 10 minutes, staring at the papers. Then she picked up her phone and made a call. Hi. Yes, I'd like to list a property. 4-bedroom colonial in Chevy Chase. No, I'm not in a hurry. I just want top dollar. She hung up, looked at the chicken salad, and for the first time in 15 years, she laughed. The divorce took 6 weeks. Silas hired a lawyer who charged by the minute. Beatrice didn't hire anyone. She just showed up, signed the papers, and walked out without asking for alimony or splitting assets. Silas thought he'd won. See, he told Jade over champagne in their new Los Angeles penthouse. I told you she wouldn't fight. She's too passive, too boring. Jade kissed him and said, "You deserve someone who matches your energy." What Silas didn't know was that Beatrice had already moved the house into her maiden name 3 years earlier. It was never legally his. The cars? Leased under her LLC. The retirement account he thought was theirs. Hers alone. She sold the house within 48 hours. Not to a family. To a developer who'd been eyeing the lot for months. The price? Triple what Silas estimated it was worth. He thought he was leaving her with a financial anchor. She turned it into a lifeboat. Meanwhile, in California, Jade had expensive taste. A $40,000 dress for a charity gala. A personal trainer who charged $300 per session. A skincare routine that cost more than most people's rent. "Babe, do we really need the private jet to Cabo?" Silas asked one morning, looking at his credit card statement. Jade turned, her face tight. "Do you really want me showing up to events looking like I flew commercial?" Silas swallowed the argument. He wanted to be the man who could afford her. So he said yes. To everything. Back in Maryland, Beatrice wasn't crying into wine or posting cryptic quotes on social media. She was working. The consulting firm she'd been building under her maiden name, Vance Strategic, was growing faster than she'd planned. Clients who'd worked with Silas started reaching out to her directly. "We heard you were the real brain behind Sterling Solutions," one CEO said during a Zoom call. "We'd like to bring you on for our rebrand." She smiled. Professional. Calm. "I'd be happy to discuss terms." She spent 15 years building his throne, and he gave it to a stranger in 15 minutes. Subscribe now if you've ever felt underappreciated. Don't let your story end in silence. 3 months after the divorce, Silas walked into his home office in California to prep for a pitch. He opened his filing cabinet, the one where he kept all his secret strategies, the notes and frameworks that had made him successful. Empty. Every folder, every deck, every handwritten note. Gone. He called Beatrice. Voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. He texted, "Where are my files?" Her response came 2 hours later. Simple. Cold. "Those were never yours." Silas stared at the message. Then he looked around his penthouse. Jade was on the balcony, FaceTiming someone, laughing. The ocean sparkled behind her. Everything looked perfect. But for the first time since he left Maryland, Silas felt a knot of fear twist in his stomach. Because without those files, without Beatrice's quiet brilliance editing his life, he was just a man with a big voice and no script. 6 months into his new life, Silas stood in a conference room in Seattle, sweating through a $15,000 suit. Across the table sat 3 executives from a biotech firm. They'd flown him out specifically because of his reputation. "So, Mr. Sterling," the lead executive said, leaning back, "walk us through your strategy for entering the Gen Z market." Silas smiled, confident. He opened his laptop and clicked to the first slide. It was blank. He clicked again. Another blank slide. Panic flooded his chest, but he kept smiling. Technical issue. Excited to announce I'm joining Vance Strategic. Can't wait to work with the best in the business. Vance Strategic. He clicked the company page. The About section mentioned a mysterious founder who'd quietly revolutionized consulting in the Northeast. No name, no photo, just results. Silas felt something he hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. And beneath it, something sharper. Dread. That same week, a letter arrived at the penthouse. Foreclosure notice. The landlord was selling the building. Silas had 60 days to move out. He went to tell Jade. Her closet was empty. No note. No text. Just gone. He called her. Straight to voicemail. He called her agent. The agent laughed. Jade's in Monaco with a film producer. Didn't she tell you? Silas sat on the floor of the empty closet, staring at the bare hangers. His phone buzzed. A news alert. Mystery investor saves failing tech firm in Boston. Vance Holdings expands again. The article showed a photo of a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The CEO's face was turned away from the camera, but her hand was visible. On her finger, a wedding ring. Simple. Silver. The same one he'd given Beatrice 15 years ago in Baltimore. Silas's throat tightened. He zoomed in on the photo. The ring. The posture. The calm, controlled presence. It couldn't be. Could it? Silas Sterling returned to the East Coast with 2 suitcases and a shame so heavy it bent his spine. The penthouse in California was gone. The model was gone. The illusion of success, gone. He crashed on a friend's couch in Virginia for 3 nights before the friend's wife made it clear he needed to leave. We've got kids, Silas. We can't have you here indefinitely. So he slept in his leased BMW in a rest stop off I-95. The leather seats that once felt like luxury now felt like a prison. Every morning, he woke up to the smell of fast food and gasoline, brushing his teeth in a gas station bathroom, trying to look presentable enough to send out job applications. He called every contact in his phone. Most didn't answer. The ones who did were polite but distant. Silas, hey, long time. Yeah, I'd love to help, but we're not hiring right now. You should try reaching out to Vance Holdings. I hear they're expanding. Vance. That name again. Silas finally broke down and called an old college buddy, Marcus, who worked in corporate recruiting. Marcus, man, I need a favor. I'm looking for work. Anything. I just need. Silas. Marcus's voice was careful. Too careful. I'm gonna be real with you. Word got out about what happened in Seattle. And California. People are saying you've lost your edge. That's not true. And there's something else. Marcus paused. You know that model you were with? Jade. What about her? She wasn't a model, man. She was a consultant. Lifestyle consultant. High-end. The kind people hire to distract other people. Silas felt his chest go cold. What are you talking about? I don't know who hired her. But someone paid her to be with you. And the timing? Right when you were peaking professionally. That's not a coincidence. The line went dead. Silas sat in his car, staring at the dashboard. Someone set him up. But who? And why? He thought about Beatrice. Quiet, passive Beatrice. There's no way she could orchestrate something like that. She didn't have the money, the connections, the ruthlessness. Did she? Was Silas the victim of a setup, or did he set himself up the moment he stopped valuing loyalty? Comment right if he deserves this, or wrong if she went too far. 2 weeks later, Silas was driving through Maryland when he saw it. A billboard. Massive. Professional. Vance Strategic. Building futures, one vision at a time. Below the tagline was a photo of a woman in a blazer, her face turned slightly away from the camera. But her hand was visible, resting on a desk. And on that hand, clear as daylight, was the silver wedding ring. Silas pulled over. His hands shook as he Googled Vance Strategic CEO. The search results showed press releases, awards, client testimonials. But no name, no photo, just the founder. He clicked on the careers page. One listing caught his eye. Senior Account Manager, Maryland office. Competitive salary. Immediate start. Silas didn't hesitate. He submitted his resume right there, parked on the side of the highway. 3 days later, he got a response. Dear Mr. Sterling, we'd like to invite you for an interview. Please report to our headquarters in Bethesda on Monday at 9 a.m. The CEO personally reviews all senior hires. We look forward to meeting you. Silas read the email 5 times. His heart pounded. This was it. His second chance. Maybe even his redemption. He had no idea he was walking into a reckoning. Monday morning. Silas stood outside the Vance Strategic Building in Bethesda, Maryland, staring up at the glass exterior. The architecture was sharp, modern, expensive. The kind of building that didn't apologize for taking up space. He adjusted his tie, the only one he had left that wasn't wrinkled, and walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was pristine. Marble floors, soft lighting, a reception desk made of dark wood that looked like it cost more than his first car. Employees moved through the space with purpose, but not panic. No one was shouting. No one looked stressed. It was the opposite of every office Silas had ever worked in. "Mr. Sterling?" A young woman in a crisp blouse approached him. "I'm Kay, the executive assistant. The CEO is running a few minutes behind. Please have a seat." Silas sat on a leather chair that didn't squeak. He glanced around. On the walls were framed quotes. Not the generic motivational garbage you see in corporate spaces. One caught his eye. "Integrity is what you do when no one is watching." Another, "The quietest people often carry the heaviest weight." He felt a strange discomfort settle in his chest, like he was in a museum dedicated to everything he wasn't. Kay returned with a glass of water. "The CEO will see you now." Silas stood, smoothing his jacket. "Quick question, what's the CEO like?" "I didn't see much about them online." Kay's face shifted. Not quite fear. More like pity. "She values honesty above all else. And she has an excellent memory." Silas's stomach dropped, but he forced a smile. "Great. I'm honest. Very honest." Kay led him down a hallway lined with awards. Fastest growing firm in the Northeast. Top Workplace Culture 2024. Innovator of the Year. They stopped in front of a door. Gold letters spelled out Vance. Kay knocked twice, then opened it. "Mr. Sterling is here." A voice from inside. Calm. Familiar. "Send him in." Silas stepped through the door. The office was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A desk made of polished walnut. And behind it, sitting in a chair that looked like it belonged to royalty, was Beatrice. Not the Beatrice he remembered. This woman's hair was sharper. Her suit was tailored. Her posture was straight, controlled, powerful. But it was her. Unmistakably her. Silas froze. Beatrice didn't stand. Didn't smile. She just looked at him the way you'd look at a stain on expensive fabric. "Silas," she said. "It's been a while." His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Finally, he managed, What are you doing here?" She raised an eyebrow. "I work here." You work here?" "I own here." She gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Sit." He sat. His hands were trembling. Beatrice opened a folder. His resume. She flipped through it slowly, deliberately. Senior Marketing Strategist. Impressive title. But your recent work history is sparse. "I had some setbacks," Silas said quickly. "But I'm ready to get back in the game. I just need a second chance." Beatrice finished. She closed the folder and looked at him. "You know what's interesting, Silas? For 15 years, you had a second chance every single day. And you wasted every one of them. If this happened in your town tomorrow, wouldn't you want to be the one behind the desk, not the one begging? Subscribe to join a community that values character over clout." Silas leaned forward. Listen, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we were married. We had history. Doesn't that count for something?" Beatrice stood. She walked to the window, her back to him. "History is just a record of choices, Silas. And yours are documented very clearly." She turned. Her eyes were ice. "The position you applied for? It's been filled. But there is one opening." Silas's heart lifted. "I'll take it. Whatever it is." "Night shift janitor," Beatrice said. $18 an hour. You start tonight." The air left the room. Kay's voice came through the intercom. "The CEO is ready for you now, Mr. Sterling." Then, quieter, "She's been expecting you for exactly 1 year." Silas stood in Beatrice's office, frozen. His eyes scanned the space, searching for something familiar, something that would remind him of the woman he married. But everything was different. The walls weren't bare. They were filled with framed art, abstract pieces, bold colors, the kind of work he used to call a waste of money when she browsed galleries on weekends. On the shelves sat first edition books, philosophy, economics, leadership, the same books she used to read at night while he watched sports highlights. "You kept all this?" he said, gesturing weakly. Beatrice finally looked up from her tablet. 60 seconds passed before she spoke. 60 seconds of deliberate, uncomfortable silence that made Silas shift his weight like a child waiting outside the principal's office. "I didn't keep anything," she said. "I built everything." She set the tablet down and folded her hands. "Vance Strategic didn't start a year ago, Silas. It started 10 years ago. While you were at the golf course networking, I was consulting for startups out of our basement. While you were taking credit for campaigns I wrote, I was building a client base under my maiden name. You were busy being seen. I was busy being valuable." Silas felt his throat tighten. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you didn't ask." Her voice was calm, but sharp. "In 15 years of marriage, you never once asked me what I did during the day. You assumed I did nothing. So I let you assume." Silas stepped forward, his arms opening for a hug. Come on. We can." She pressed a button on her desk. A glass partition slid down between them with a soft hiss. "Physical. Final. You're not my husband," Beatrice said through the glass. "You're a candidate. And frankly, not a very impressive one." Silas's face flushed. "This is insane. You're still angry about the divorce? That was a year ago. People move on." "I did move on," Beatrice said. "You didn't. You moved sideways into chaos, and now you're here, begging for stability. But let me ask you something." She picked up her phone and tapped the screen. "Does this man sound like someone I should trust with my company's future?" A voice filled the room. Silas's voice. Slightly drunk. Loud. "She's got no ambition, Marcus. Zero. I come home with ideas, with energy, and she's just there. Like a lamp. You don't notice it until it's gone, and even then, you don't really care." Laughter in the background. His laughter. "I need someone who challenges me. Someone exciting. Beatrice is just boring." The recording stopped. Silas's face went white. "Where did you get that?" "You pocket-dialed me," Beatrice said. "A year and 2 months ago. I was doing laundry. You were at a bar in Arlington, talking about me like I was furniture." She stood and walked to the window, her back to him. "You want to know what I did after I heard that? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went upstairs and opened a business account. Because I realized something, Silas. You weren't my partner. You were my project. And I was done working for free." Silas tried to speak, but the words caught in his chest. Beatrice turned. "You asked me earlier what I'm doing here. I'm doing what I've always done. The work. The difference is, now I get the credit." Silas dropped into the chair, his hands gripping the armrests. "So what? You planned all this? The divorce? The company? I didn't plan anything," Beatrice interrupted. "I prepared. There's a difference." She pulled up a file on her tablet and turned it toward him. "Spreadsheets. Emails. Financial records. Do you remember the Reynolds account?" she asked. "The one you called your breakthrough moment." Silas nodded slowly. "You were 3 days from losing it. The client was furious because your pitch was generic and lazy. So I spent 72 hours researching their competitors, restructuring your pricing model, and writing a follow-up proposal. I sent it from your email at 4 in the morning. You woke up to a signed contract and thought you'd done it in your sleep." Silas stared at the screen. "Or the Baxter merger," Beatrice continued, swiping to another file. "You were in Miami with Jade when the deal almost collapsed. I logged into your account, posed as you, and salvaged the negotiation. You got a promotion, I got nothing. She swiped again. New Jersey, Florida, Texas, Washington. Every win you celebrated, I engineered. You were the face. I was the foundation. Silas's voice cracked. Why did you help me if you hated me? I didn't hate you, Beatrice said quietly. I loved you. But love isn't enough when the other person doesn't see you as human. She closed the tablet. As for Jade, I didn't hire her. You did. You hired her the moment you decided superficial excitement mattered more than sustainable partnership. She was inevitable. I just stopped standing in the way. Silas felt the room tilt. So you let me destroy myself? I let you make your own choices, Beatrice corrected. And then I stopped cleaning up the mess. She leaned back in her chair. Do you know what happened the day you left? I didn't collapse. I didn't beg you to stay. I called a realtor, liquidated assets, and moved my consulting clients to a full-scale firm. Within 6 months, I had 20 employees. Within a year, I had 3 offices. Silas's hands trembled. And this interview? This wasn't real, was it? Beatrice smiled. Not warm. Not cruel. Just factual. The recruiting agency you applied through? I bought it 4 months ago. Every senior position in the region funnels through me now. So yes, Silas, this interview was very real. You just didn't know you were interviewing with the woman whose brain you rented for 15 years. He thought he was a genius, but he was just a passenger in her vehicle. Subscribe now so you can learn to be the driver of your own life, not a passenger in someone else's. Silas stood, pacing. Okay, fine. You win. You're successful. I'm not. But we were married, B. Doesn't that mean anything? Beatrice stood too. Eye to eye. It meant everything. Until you traded it for a 24-year-old who didn't know your middle name. She walked to the door and opened it. Kay will show you out. Wait, Silas said desperately. What if I stay? What if I prove I've changed? Beatrice paused. You have 30 seconds to decide if you want the janitorial position. After that, security will escort you out, and you'll never hear from me again. The clock on the wall ticked. Silas looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in his life, he saw someone he'd completely underestimated. Silas sat back down. His voice was quieter now. Smaller. What do I have to do? Beatrice returned to her desk and pulled out a single sheet of paper. She slid it across to him along with a pen. This is a legal acknowledgement, she said. It states that for the duration of our marriage, you knowingly used intellectual property created by me, Beatrice Vance, without credit or compensation. It admits that your professional success was the result of my uncredited labor. Silas picked up the paper. His hands shook. If I sign this, my reputation is done. Every client, every colleague, they'll know I was a fraud. You were a fraud, Beatrice said. This just makes it official. But I'll lose everything. You already lost everything. This is about what you gain. She leaned forward. Sign it, and I'll pay off your debts. Your credit cards. Your car lease. The back rent you owe in Virginia. You'll start fresh. Completely clean. Silas looked up. And in exchange? In exchange, you work here. Nights. Janitorial. You show up on time. You do the job, and you learn what it means to build something instead of borrowing it. Silas laughed bitterly. You want me to mop floors? I want you to see the floors, Beatrice said. For 15 years, you walked over my work without noticing it. Maybe if you're the one cleaning, you'll finally understand what it takes to maintain something. Silas stared at the document. His name, his crimes, his humiliation, all in black ink. What if I don't sign? He asked. Beatrice's expression didn't change. Then you walk out of here with nothing. No job, no safety net, and no second chance. Because this is the only offer you're going to get from anyone in this industry. I made sure of that. Silas's jaw tightened. You're enjoying this. I'm surviving this, Beatrice corrected. There's a difference. Be honest. If someone used your brain to get rich and then threw you away, would you save them from the gutter or let them stay there? Comment justice if she should let him fall, or mercy if she should help. Silas picked up the pen. He hovered over the signature line. His pride screamed at him to stand up, walk out, tell her to go to hell. But his bank account was negative. His phone was 2 payments from being shut off, and he had nowhere else to go. "If I sign this," he said slowly, "does that mean you forgive me?" Beatrice looked at him for a long moment. "No, it means I'm giving you the chance to forgive yourself. That's more than you gave me." Silas's hand trembled. He thought about the penthouse, the model, the life he thought he deserved. All of it built on someone else's foundation. He signed. Beatrice took the paper, scanned it, and filed it away without ceremony. Then she looked at the clock. "You have 30 seconds before security escorts you to the curb," she said. "Or you can stay and start tonight. Your choice." Silas looked at her. The woman he once called boring. The woman who now held his entire future in her hands. "I'll stay," he whispered. Beatrice nodded. "Good. Report to the Connecticut office tomorrow at 11 p.m. Or something you don't mind getting dirty." Silas showed up to the Connecticut branch at 10:45 p.m. The building was quieter than the Maryland headquarters. Smaller. The kind of place where every sound echoed. A man in his 50s met him at the door. His name tag read, "Gene, Facilities Manager." "You're the new guy?" Gene asked, looking Silas up and down. "Yeah." Gene handed him a uniform. Navy blue. A name tag with Silas printed in block letters. "Change in the back. You've got the 3rd floor tonight. Bathrooms, break rooms, conference halls. I want it spotless by 6 a.m. Silas stared at the mop and bucket. "That's it. No training." Gene shrugged. "You put the mop in the water. You clean the floor. It's not rocket science." For the first 4 hours, Silas worked in silence. His back ached. His hands blistered. The chemical smell of the cleaning solution made his eyes water. But he kept going. At 3 a.m., he heard voices. He stepped into the hallway and saw 2 men in suits walking toward the elevator. One of them glanced at Silas, did a double take, then kept walking. It was Marcus, his old college buddy, the recruiter. Silas opened his mouth to say something, but Marcus didn't stop, didn't even nod. Just walked past him like he was invisible, like he was nothing. Silas stood there, mop in hand, watching the elevator doors close. And for the first time, he felt it, the weight of being unseen. He thought about Beatrice. How many times had she stood in a room, holding something valuable, and been ignored? How many times had she offered an idea, only for him to dismiss it or take credit later? He went back to mopping. At 5:30 a.m., he finished. His legs were shaking. His shirt was soaked with sweat. He returned the supplies to the closet and sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. That's when he saw it. A note taped to the inside of his locker. The handwriting was unmistakable. "Beatrice's. Now you can finally see the world from my perspective. Don't miss the details." Silas read it 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. He walked outside just as the sun was coming up. The parking lot was empty except for one car. A sleek black sedan pulling in. Beatrice. She parked in the executive spot, got out, and walked toward the building. She was holding a coffee and a leather briefcase. She looked rested, focused, powerful. She didn't look at him, but Silas looked at her. And for the first time in his life, he didn't see a wife. He didn't see a boss. He saw a person, a whole, complete, brilliant person he had spent 15 years reducing to background noise. She disappeared through the glass doors. Silas stood there, still in his janitorial uniform, watching her go. And he understood. 1 year later, Silas sat in the same Maryland office where this all began. But this time, he wasn't begging. He was waiting. The door opened. Beatrice walked in, followed by 2 other executives. She sat across from him, her expression neutral. You wanted to see me? Silas asked. I wanted to offer you a promotion, Beatrice said. Regional Operations Manager. Salary, benefits, equity. You've earned it. Silas blinked. I don't understand. You've been our most reliable employee for 12 months, Beatrice said. You show up early. You stay late. You treat people with respect. You've rebuilt your reputation from the ground up. That's worth rewarding. Silas's throat tightened. Why? Because this was never about punishing you, Beatrice said. It was about teaching you. And you finally learned. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a photo. A ribbon-cutting ceremony. A building with the words Vance Women's Housing Initiative above the door. What's this? Silas asked. We've used company profits to build transitional housing for women, Beatrice explained. Single mothers. Survivors of financial abuse. Women who were underestimated and undervalued. The very people you used to ignore. Silas stared at the photo. His chest ached. You don't have to take the promotion, Beatrice said. But if you do, part of your role will be managing outreach for these programs. Helping people rebuild. Just like you did. Silas looked at her. Do you forgive me? Beatrice smiled. Small. Honest. I don't need to forgive you, Silas. You need to forgive yourself. And the best way to do that is to help others avoid the mistakes you made. She stood. Think about it. Let me know by Friday. She walked to the door, then paused. By the way, I found this in storage. She handed him a photo. It was from their wedding. 20 years ago. Young. Hopeful. Smiling. Silas looked at it. He didn't see the man he used to be. He saw the man he could have been. Thank you, he said quietly. Beatrice nodded. You're welcome. She left. Silas sat alone, holding the photo. And he finally understood. Wealth is a temporary shadow. Character is the sun that creates it. When you trade loyalty for excitement, you aren't upgrading your life. You're devaluing your soul. He wasn't the one who was bored. He was the one who was blind. If this story taught you that true value is often hidden in plain sight, tap the like button. And if you're brave enough, tell us. Have you ever been the Beatrice in someone's life? We're pinning the most inspiring story of resilience in the comments below. Subscribe to stay wise, stay grounded, and never miss the next lesson.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. We really appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And guess what? The story doesn't end here. Click on the video right here on your screen to dive into another fascinating story. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Once again, thanks for being a part of this amazing community. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring stories that move you.